The letter, written in the hopeful cursive of a 22-year-old, felt like a relic from another woman's life. "Dear future me," it began. Susan had written it on her first day of work in 1992, sealing it in an envelope she promised herself she'd open on her 55th birthday. She'd imagined opening it with a triumphant smile, her secure future stretching out before her like a calm, sunlit sea. But now, at 55, as she finally broke the seal, her hands trembled. The words on the page were a ghost, whispering about a dream that had just died. She holds the thin paper up to the lamplight, as if the right angle could reveal some hidden clause, some footnote she missed. Her inner voice is a frantic whisper. It has to be here. The answer has to be in the past, because the future I was promised is gone. This isn't just a story about a market crash. It's a mystery about a promise that was broken, a future that was stolen, and a betrayal that was 30 years in the making. In her letter, young Susan had gushed about her new 401k. "I'm doing everything right," she'd written. "I'm saving with every paycheck, getting the company match, and investing in the fund they said was best. My future is safe." For 3 decades, she'd held on to that belief as if it were scripture. She felt tricked, not by malicious people, but by a system that sold her a false sense of security. You know what Susan's story reminds me of? Every woman I know who did everything right and still got blindsided. As she read those naive words, the number on her retirement account screen flickered again, showing another $50,000 loss. I did everything they told me, and it still wasn't enough. This is a story about losing more than money. It's about losing time, the one thing you can never earn back. And it's a cautionary tale about a devastating mistake millions are making this very moment, believing they've been promised a safety that was never really there. Susan's story started with the comforting smell of freshly printed brochures in a quiet HR office. She was 22, and the promise of the American dream felt tangible. "We make it easy," the HR rep said with a reassuring smile. "Almost everyone goes with this one. It's our flagship large-cap growth fund. It's done incredibly well for our employees." For Susan, who knew nothing about investing, this was a lifeline. She remembered her own mother, a child of the Depression, meticulously clipping coupons at the kitchen table. She'd watched her mother pay the bills with a pen, a checkbook, and a quiet, constant worry, stashing cash in an old coffee can. Susan felt a surge of pride that she was part of a new generation. No more coffee cans. Her future was digital, professional, supposedly guaranteed. She checked the box, enrolled in the fund, and set her contribution to get the full company match. She was an adult. She was safe. The years flew by in a montage of ordinary, beautiful life. The scent of baby powder, the drone of a lawnmower, her children graduating, lighting birthday candles on cake after cake. Just last year, her daughter had called, asking for advice on her own new 401k. "I just want to be smart about it, like you," she'd said. "If I end up like you, Mom, I'll know I did something right." The praise had warmed Susan for weeks. Through it all, her 401k grew on autopilot. Every quarterly statement was a shot of validation. Unopened 401k statements began to pile up on her desk, a stack of unexamined truths. She'd see flyers in the break room for retirement seminars and think, that's for people who are behind. A coworker once asked if she was diversified, and she'd brushed it off with a confident smile. "Oh, my fund is the best one they have." Each choice was a small act of willful ignorance, a layer of paint over the invisible rot. The late 90s tech boom was raging, and her single fund was soaring. She'd hear people talk about diversification, but it sounded like a word for people who weren't winning. Her balance crossed $500,000. The 2008 financial crisis was a jolt. It was scary, but the advice from everyone was unanimous. Stay the course. The market will come back. And it did. Within a few years, her portfolio was climbing higher than ever. That experience, ironically, cemented her faith. It taught her that markets go down, but they always come back up. She didn't see it as a story about broad market recovery. She saw it as proof of her fund's unique strength. That survival planted a seed of overconfidence, a dangerous belief that her retirement plan was a house of brick, when really it was a house with invisible rot, standing tall but hollow inside. By the time she was in her early 50s, her 401k was flirting with 7 figures. It was her masterpiece. She hadn't logged in to reevaluate her choices in a decade. Why would she? The company she'd trusted had shown her the way, and the numbers proved they were right. Or so she thought. The night before she was scheduled to meet a financial advisor, Susan couldn't sleep. For months, there had been small signs, tiny cracks in the foundation of her perfect house. A news story about market volatility she'd quickly scrolled past. A nagging feeling in the back of her mind she'd silenced with thoughts of her impressive account balance. It was like a drawer in a well-built cabinet that suddenly doesn't close quite right. A small annoyance that hints at a deeper, structural shift. At 3 a.m., she found herself in the kitchen, making a pot of coffee she didn't need, the letter from her 22-year-old self lying on the counter. She read it again, the hopeful words now feeling like a cruel joke. As the first light of dawn broke, she just stared out the window, a knot of dread in her stomach. The storm had hit without warning. Headlines screamed about recession fears. At first, Susan tried to stay calm, but this felt different. Checking her 401k became a morning ritual of dread. Down $50,000. Down $150,000. Within a month, nearly a third of her life savings had evaporated. One evening, her husband found her at the kitchen table, just staring at a family photo. "Is it bad?" he asked gently. "It's so much worse than I told you," she whispered, and the dam broke. She laid her head on the table and wept. "How could I let this happen? We were supposed to be okay." He tried to comfort her, but she pulled away. "You don't get it. This was my job. I was supposed to handle this." Later that night, unable to sleep, she opened her laptop. She navigated to a folder named Future and found the spreadsheet, Italy, 10th anniversary trip. For years, they had added to it cities, restaurants, museums. With a click that felt impossibly heavy, she dragged the file to the trash. A dream, reduced to a string of code, now gone. The shame was suffocating. She couldn't tell her adult children. How could she, the matriarch, the one they always came to for advice, admit that her own future was crumbling? Everyone in her life thought she was the smart one, the one who had it all figured out. This isolation felt like its own kind of prison. Later that week, she quietly tiptoed into her granddaughter's room and watched her sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in the soft glow of a nightlight. She thought about the legacy she wanted to leave, not just of money, but of strength and wisdom. Right now, she felt she had neither. What kind of legacy was this? The email from the financial advisor's office to confirm her appointment popped up on her phone. Her thumb hovered over the delete button. The urge to just hide from the reality of it all was overwhelming. But then she looked at her granddaughter, and with a deep, shaky breath, she hit confirm. She walked into the advisor's office, clutching her statements. The advisor, a kind but direct woman named Sarah, laid the papers out. The silence was heavy as her eyes scanned the single fund name that appeared over and over again. Finally, Sarah looked up. "Susan," she began gently, "the market crash is what triggered this, but it's not the real reason you were devastated." Sarah slid a single piece of paper across the desk. "Your problem is concentration. For 30 years, you've been driving down the highway at 80 miles an hour, and you never knew you didn't have any brakes." She explained that 100% of Susan's retirement was in one category: large U.S. stocks. No bonds, no international funds, no shock absorbers. That's not a balanced meal, Susan. It's a diet of 100 different kinds of potatoes. You're missing all the other food groups. In that instant, Susan flashed back to that HR office in 1992. The memory replayed with an eerie clarity, the kind smile, the reassuring words. Almost everyone goes with this one. The advice wasn't malicious, but it was dangerously incomplete. Her internal monologue was a storm. I was loyal to a system, to people who didn't even know my name. How could I be so stupid? She almost drowned in self-blame, but then a different thought emerged. Shame is a tool. It's what keeps people quiet, what keeps them from asking for help. And she was done being quiet. Susan's story is a nightmare, but it's one we can all learn from. In a journal she started that week, she wrote, "I didn't lose it all in a day. I lost it over 30 years. Every year I didn't log in was another brick I didn't inspect in the foundation of my future." Her disaster was caused by two critical mistakes: a catastrophic lack of diversification and a blind trust in a system she didn't understand. This is the big one. True diversification means spreading your investments across different asset classes. Susan, who always hosted Thanksgiving, suddenly understood. You wouldn't just serve a dozen kinds of potatoes. You need the turkey for growth, the mashed potatoes and gravy for comfort, the vegetables for balance. Each plays a different role. The main asset classes are: 1. Stocks, equities. Your growth engine, the turkey. 2. Bonds, fixed income. Your defense, the shock absorbers. 3. Cash, your emergency fund. Susan's coworker, who saved less aggressively but had a mix of stocks and bonds, was now fine. That realization was a bitter pill. As Sarah explained the options, Susan had a single burning thought. Why didn't anyone tell me this? The simplest path: target date funds, TDFs. A fully diversified portfolio in a single fund. You pick your retirement year, and it automatically adjusts to be safer as you get closer. The DIY path: the 3-fund portfolio. Build a powerful portfolio with 3 low-cost funds. 1. A total U.S. stock market index fund. 2. A total international stock market index fund. 3. A total U.S. bond market index fund. A common rule of thumb is to have your age in bonds. That bond allocation might feel like a drag in a boom, but in a crash, it's the anchor that keeps your ship from sinking. Susan's second mistake was psychological. It reminds her of all the dieting fads she's seen over the years. Everyone is selling a quick fix, but no one explains what actually works for your unique body. Here's the hard truth of investing. Nobody will ever care more about your money than you do. In her journal, she wrote, "Wasn't this supposed to be the easy part of life?" 1. Schedule an annual 401k review. Put it in your calendar right now. 2. Learn your allocation. What's your mix of stocks and bonds? 3. Rebalance annually. This forces you to buy low and sell high and manages your risk. Save aggressively. For 2025, the employee contribution limit is $23,500. If you're 50 or older, you can add another $7,500 in catch-up contributions. And thanks to new rules, if you're between 60 and 63, you might be able to add an enhanced catch-up of $11,250 for a total of $34,750 for the year, if your plan allows it. Later that week, another journal entry. My new plan isn't about chasing a number anymore. It's about building a shield made of bonds, international stocks, and knowledge. The shame is still there, a faint echo, but for the first time, it's quieter than my resolve. Here is a prompt for you. What is one small step you can take this week to inspect the foundation of your own financial house? All right, I want you to pause this video. Seriously, log into your 401k or retirement account. Just look. What are you actually invested in? Is it one fund? Do you see a mix of stocks and bonds? You can't fix a problem you don't know you have. Once you've looked, come back. And if you are finding this valuable, please hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this is an important conversation we need to be having. Susan's story is about diversification, but there are other nightmares lurking in 401ks that can silently eat away at your wealth. Nightmare number 1, the tyranny of high fees. Fees are like termites. An expense ratio of 1% sounds tiny, but over 30 years, it can cost you nearly $100,000. Hunt down your expense ratios. If they're over 0.5%, you should be asking why. Nightmare number 2, the employer stock trap. This is a close cousin to Susan's problem. Your paycheck and your retirement are now tied to the fate of one company. If that company hits hard times, you could lose your job and your savings at the exact same time. Nightmare number 3, leaving money on the table. Your employer offers a 401k match. This is a guaranteed 100% risk-free return. If you don't contribute enough to get the full match, you're turning down free money. Nightmare number 4, cashing out when you change jobs. This is a truly catastrophic mistake. You'll get hit with penalties and taxes, but the real damage is losing future growth. That $20,000, if left alone for 30 years, could have become over $150,000. Roll that money over into your new 401k or an IRA. Never cash it out. Susan's story is heartbreaking. It's a story of hard work undone by a single, critical oversight, a generational betrayal of the American dream she was promised. The markets will always be unpredictable. Crashes will happen. We can't control that, but we can control how we prepare for them. Real financial security isn't found in a single hot stock fund or by following 30-year-old advice. It's forged in the discipline of diversification, strengthened by the habit of rebalancing, and preserved by keeping a close eye on fees. Most of all, it's built on a foundation of personal ownership. Don't let fear keep you from taking action. Don't let the illusion of safety lull you into the same trap that cost Susan her retirement. Build a fortress for your future that is not an illusion, but a reality grounded in sound principles and your own informed decisions. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you are truly in control is the greatest return you will ever get. I often think about what I would tell my 40-year-old self. I'd tell her that being good with money isn't the same as being smart about investing. I'd tell her that confidence is not a substitute for knowledge. And I'd tell her that the person who will care most about her future is the one she sees in the mirror. I lost a future I thought was guaranteed, but in the rubble, I found something else. Control. For the first time, I have a real plan. Not someone else's plan, but mine. It's not about getting back what I lost. It's about protecting what I have left and building something new, something stronger. And that feels a lot like peace. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share this video with one person you know, a friend, a family member, a colleague. You might be giving them the wake-up call they need. Please share your own experiences or questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Watch this next for another gripping tale of retirement gone wrong, plus the lesson you can't afford to miss.